better standard out. Even when I talk on the phone, when I'm with my
I do too.
yeah, always.
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
It just gives you that.
Yeah. Well, I have to be the, in meet that day at my office, give me a little in front, when they see me like this, they'd be like, oh, God. What went wrong?
Okay, I think we're all good. It says that it's recording, so.
Okay, she said just hit record.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think there's anybody there.
There's one person named Monica.
Monica. Hi, Monica. She must be on mute.
I think so.
Okay. Well, that's too bad that we only got a couple people here today.
Well, that's okay, you guys will learn.
So, what I thought we talked about today is there's 4 what I consider tough questions, and then you guys can throw any questions at me that you want. But one of the first ones is when you get buyer's calls, because as we all started agents, we get buyer's calls, when we get listing calls, right? So you want to know if they're pre-approved, and you want to know if they're working for the realtor. And it's the same thing when you're at own house. You know, are you pre-approved, are you working with the realtor? Those are your biggest questions. So when somebody calls me on a listing, and like I said, I do have this script is somewhere, and I will try and find it for you guys, but the very first thing I do is to set the tone for the conversation, is thank them for viewing the property. So ring ring, hello, Frankie speaking, you know, I'm calling with your listing on 123 Smith Street. Oh my God, thank you so much for viewing that property. So now you set the tone, because a lot of people get, you know, you don't know what kind of personality is on the other end of the phone. So I always thank them for viewing the property. And then I'll say to them, now what is it about this property that caught your eye? So that's the next question I ask. And depending on what they tell me is how long the conversation goes on. And then we want to know if they're working with a realtor. But we want it to sound nice because we don't want it to sound, if you just come out and say, are you already working with a realtor? It's almost like, yeah, well, if the answer is yes, I can't be bothered with you anymore. So what I say to people is, just before we start our conversation, I would just like to ask out of professional courtesy, if you're currently working with another realtor, I don't like to step on anybody's toes. Right? Totally changes the tone of the conversation that you're having. Yeah. And if they say to me, well, yes, I have been viewing houses with so-and-so, I don't normally say, well, did you so-and-so? I don't do that. Sometimes if I know the realtor, you know, oh, I know them, and, you know, well, I'll tell you what, I can use some information about the house, and if you're under contract with them, you can ask them to show it to you. I want to upsell it, it's my listing, right? I'm working for the seller. Or, you know, if you're not totally committed, and you'd like to use a home with me, and maybe some possibilities, whatever you're comfortable with. So right from the get-go, they know, like, I'm not trying to push anybody else in. Of course I want the business, but I'll give you an example where a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, got a call. It was from a lead generation type situation, and she got a call. She was just kind of scrolling around Google, you know, and all of a sudden she gets a call from somebody on a team in real estate. And they were like, hey, I saw you look at blah, blah, blah. And she was kind of like, okay. So her first reaction was she kind of creeped out because she didn't realize they could get her that way. And then it's very blunt. So are you working with a realtor? All right. Yes, I am. Oh, did you sign a contract with them? And she was kind of like, really? Like, so no matter whether she had signed with me or not signed with me, she's automatically turned off to that person. So because we all rate who we're talking to based on the disc, they're not on the disc. So because you have no idea what the disc is on the other end of the phone, right? So whenever I'm talking to somebody, I want to set the tone, and you gather more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. So that's how water the thing. So now they're going to answer the question either yes, I am, or no, I'm not. So then that's great, depending on what the answer is. And then you want to know, of course, the pre-approved. And so the next question will be, did you see the price on this house is $350,000? And either they'll say yes or no, or sometimes they'll call me and they'll say, what's the price of this house? Okay? And then I say to them, is this in the budget you were thinking of spending? Right? And if they say yes or no, they say yes, I'm fine with that budget. Great. Can I refer a top mortgage specialist to you, or are you already pre-approved? Well, I can't believe Alex didn't come. I may have to slap her. Alex knows all this stuff by now. She's got a pretty good handle on what she's doing.
That's a great way to ask that question a little more.
Mhm. If they say that they are, then you can come right out and say, you know, look, there's a lot of different options out there for banking. It's not really a regulated industry. Who is it that you're pre-approved with? I come right in and ask. But I tell them why I'm asking first. Because it's not a regulated industry. I could go join Centum and be a mortgage broker. I don't know if I'm good. Sorry. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue what mortgages, right? But I could go be a mortgage broker. So I always tell my clients that when I ask them who or if they, I even have people say to me, well, why are you asking that? And I tell them the truth, simply because it's not regulated. Are you with one of the big five banks? Or are you with somebody that has a long-term, like Alex's father? Like I refer a lot of business to Alex's father. She's been doing it 25 years. Nothing he doesn't know about mortgages, right? I am dealing on a deal with, I'm the lister, and the buyer's agent is dealing with some mortgage broker at Centum, and I'm the listing agent. This guy's doing such a bad job. I called his underwriter in Toronto and had a conversation with him trying to sort out the problem because it's a new buyer's agent I'm dealing with and a new mortgage broker. And it's in my best interest to figure it out so I get the product sold to my client. She was fine, because when you're dealing with a new realtor, like, you know, if I feel like she's struggling and I knew she was, then I always say, like, I never played a diva big agent. I can't stand that. So say to her, would you mind if I helped you call the underwriter? My gosh, she was thrilled. She didn't know what to do. She had no idea. That's how I got the number. Because I wouldn't have known the number.
Right. So should you ask, so you asked her, like, and if she was really asking about that, and, just in curiosity, so the buyer would have been okay with that as well, correct?
That's between her and her buyer.
Right.
I'm not going to ask her that.
Yeah, if
She gave me the guy's name and number. It was in my client's best interest that I called.
Right,
I don't care what she said to her client.
right. That's
So-
her
So
responsibility.
nice as I am.
Right.
You
No, it's her
gotta draw the line,
responsibility.
yeah, it's her responsibility.
Okay,
But her buyer wanted the house.
right.
She didn't know, like her call to me was like, I don't even know where to go from here. Well, this is where we can go.
Right.
Do you want to send it to me? Yeah, boom, within seconds. I have the email on my desk. Right? So I always do that with newer agents or agents that don't do much volume as I am. That's what our job is to do the best thing for the best interest of our clients. That means helping the other agent. Why would you not help?
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So now when you're at an open house, you want to ask the same questions, and you ask them in the same way, you just kind of warm them up a bit and start you do open houses? Yeah. So, you just warm them up with the Ford analogy, family, occupation, recreation, dreaming. I normally don't ask the D1 unless something comes out of it, but the FOR I use all the time. Yeah. So it would be, tell me a little bit about the family, then I tell them a little bit about the house, and then I say, oh, geez, before I go any further, I said, if anybody's close professionally, are you working with wheels already? And then, depending on the answer, no, I'm not, okay, great, yes, I am, okay, I'll tell you everything I know about this house, great, and you can come back to me with the other part of it.
Do you ever ask, who it is? Because sometimes people would say that, like, especially at open house, like, people are so like guarded that they would say, yes, I am working with someone, and when they're not, they're just like, so guarded, and
Yeah,
and you go further, and like that, I mean, to me, that's just.
I always ask.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
So you say, so who is it, and they have an answer right away?
Well, it depends, well, I don't say, who is it?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll say, oh my God, there's so many great agents in the city, who'd you pick?
Right.
You know, or there's like a really good core group of us around here, who are you working with? Maybe I know them, or, you know. And the other reason I ask that is because, again, working for my seller, I'm gonna go in there, like the next day, I'm gonna call Mary Brown and go, hey, Mary, your client, Jessica and John were in the house on blah, blah Avenue, and they really, really seem to like it. Did you want to set up a private showing? Yeah, so you actually are anything that's beneficial to your client, whether it's a buyer or seller, is what you want to do. A lot of people look at open house as just 2 hours killing time. Oh, Chris. Hi, Chris. They must be muted.
I don't know.
There's a way that there's a mute button here. Maybe we can ask Aaron, because these guys can't ask me any questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm unmuted now. Hi.
Now, hi, okay. All right. Hi, Chris.
Hi. Nice seeing you again. It's been a while.
But, and then there's Monica and there's Janice.
Okay, great.
Janice is
Hi
on.
there.
Hi, who's this?
It's Monica.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Glad to be here.
Sorry about that. Okay, we figured it out. So did you guys hear the first part of it? The tough question is, the two toughest questions, are you working with a realtor and are you pre-approved?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, good. Okay. So we'll just wait. We got it. Okay. Yeah. Take them on. You guys have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
And like I said, I do have a script too that when I find where, because I did it so long ago that it sat on my desk, but I don't know where I have it in my computer. So, another tough question to ask, how much is your homework? Right? And whenever you go into a listing appointment, you want to know that, right? Because you want to know where their head is at. So what happens is I warm them up first. So they're in the Keller Williams. There are 5 questions that you can ask, or you can warm them up with the 4th again. And then after you've asked the 4 or 5 questions, you say, and what do you think? So how many people are going to hear back? Well, that's your job. You're the realtor. Okay? Here's the answer to that. Well, I really don't have, per se, a price. I said, everybody has an emotional attachment to their house. Even if you don't think you do, you do. You know everything you've done to it. You know how much money you'd like to get back. So me as a professional, what I have is I have the statistics. They're not my price. They're the actual statistical numbers that buyers agents will use to tell their clients whether or not they're overpaying for your house. So what we want to do is we want to take the statistical number that I find, and I'm going to back it up with the numbers in the report. We're going to take what you feel your house is worth, including your emotional attachment or anything else. We're going to roll those numbers together. We're going to push it up as high as we can while still keeping you in the market. Because you don't want to be floating up here. You want to be in the market. Do you agree? Does that work for you? You guys nod your heads exactly like sellers do.
Okay. Yes, I do.
You'll get the odd seller, you'll get the odd seller that will say, I really have no idea. I just want to know. And that's when you say, the numbers will tell us. And even when I go to sit down with sellers and they have, like I was at one that he thought his house was worth 270. The highest I could push in was 254.9. That's the highest I could push in, and that was pushing it. And they signed this morning. Because we had that talk about the numbers are the numbers, it's math. They do not lie. So if you put yourself in, you're the buyer. When I sit down with buyers, I do the same information. I do everything the same. And I say to them, the statistics show us that this house is worth 250. They're asking 270. So either the seller believes that's what it's worth, or the buyer believes that's what it's worth. So as an agent, I'm going to walk right past it. But if I do have to bring my buyers to your house, and you're $15,000 out of market price, I'm then going to show the same numbers to my buyers that I'm showing you right now. And I'm going to say, the statistics show that the home values in this area are no higher than 250. You can choose to overpay by $15,000. Or we can find you a better home at a better value. Which would you like to do? There's not a buyer I've had that has ever said to me, Brenda, I'd really like to pay $15,000 over market value for that house. And once sellers hear it that way, and you tell them, put yourself in those shoes. These are the numbers. When I'm done my reports, you're going to be able to look at the numbers. You're going to tell me what the math is. Now, what can we do to push yours up higher? Because there are times where houses in a certain neighborhood are worth a little bit more.
You think in this market, with like the offers that listers, sellers are getting, does that ever influence where you put it on the market at? Like, maybe we know that most people are coming in with low ball offers, so you try to predict ahead of that.
Well, what you do is you look at the numbers, again, you look at the statistics, and you say to them, you know, there's 3 levels of price, there's a range, you always give a range, okay? So if I say your range is 239 to 249, in a seller's market, you're going to go 249, you might even go 252. And in a balanced market, you're going to go 245. And in a balanced market, in a buyer's market, you're going to go 239, if not 237, the price ahead of the curve. Where do you want to be? And again, the buyers are going to use the same numbers. This is where it shows your home value is, all right? You can take the long and winding road and be on the market for 250 days, or you can price yourself where you should be and be in the 120-day range, which is far out as it sounds. That's what average. We're 102 to 110 days on market right now, right? So you guys tell me, which do you want to do the wrong way or that? And that's not guaranteeing that anyone's even going to pay you. And this is what I said to them this morning. I'm not even guaranteeing you're going to get 254. Do I believe in that the house is worth that? Yes. Do the numbers show the house is worth that? Yes. But it's a really civil market right now, right? If you're well priced when you're negotiating with the buyer's agent, I had one come in there last week at $20,000 under. You know, I knew the agent. They're really good agents. They know the numbers, and their clients wanted to win $20,000 under. At the end of the day, you settle on $5,000 per. Because our pricing is bang on, you know. So, yeah, you don't overprice because people are coming in low. No. Oh, 5 weeks. Well, it doesn't. Like, if the days on market right now are over 100, right? Then you want to tell your clients, like, you know, like, until we hit the 4 months, so say 4 to 6 months is average right now, until we hit the 4 months, because sometimes you price a house properly, they can't drop anymore.
Right.
They need that, or they're not, you know, they can't sell.
Right.
Most people are selling because they're upsized into a bigger house, right? So, and that's another thing, is people say to me, well, I need this much money for my house so I can buy this house. Well, that's not going to work, because what you're asking is, you're asking the future buyer of your house to finance where you want to go next. They're not gonna overpay for your current house, so you can get the big house up on the hill. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah. So, and I always let people know when they first meet with me, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you the highest possible dollar for your house, but I will not tell you what you want to hear. I will tell you the way it is. Because, and like I said this morning, like the house that I just, that's coming on the 254.9, everything else in that neighborhood, 239, 244. So they were already 10 or 15, but they deserve that.
Yeah.
Because of what they did. Because you push them to 270, there's no way you could push them to 270. Any questions on that? I remember being stumped with that question about 6 months into real estate. When I said, what do you think of home sale? You tell me you're the agent, that. I have a clue what to say.
I just think it makes like a difference, like when I'm working with buyers, like how long ago we can listen and you look at like the price that it came on at, if it's still at that price, so that's why I asked that question, or why I haven't been listed.
No.
Listed, for almost 2 years, consistently at the same price, and we did get an offer for 20,000 under, you might say, well, you can give us the only offer versus giving it that 5 weeks, that was pretty good.
What if they can't pay the mortgage for them? There's always mitigating circumstances. What you have to say to your buyer is, it's a buyer's market, not a distressed market. You can't do short sales in Canada. If a house has been on the market that long for that price, because I'll know right away if the buyer's agent is overpriced, because you've already done your homework.
Right.
And the numbers show that house is not overpriced, right? It may just be an issue that, maybe it has no backyard. Maybe the demographics for that house are limited to. So there's so many factors that can affect that house.
Even if you can, look, I think that's a lot of things to say. That even if you can look, you can get to it on where we don't know, like, where they're at on the mortgage. We don't know what else is beyond that, you know what I mean? It's not the only debt that people have, right?
Well, one of the things that I do is I go into property online and look at their mortgage.
Yeah,
Right.
but even still, like, even doing that with my buyers and making, like, educated guess on where they're at, I don't know beyond that what their financial situation is, right?
Well, here's the thing, and it doesn't really matter. When people say to me, well, they're going to make this much money or how much they owe or whatever, that has nothing to do. That has no bearing on market value.
Exactly.
It's no bearing. And the problem is, if you don't put your buyers down on day one and do the consultation properly and set their expectations. You don't set buyer expectations, that's when you're going to be in a lot of these situations, okay? So I'll tell people, I can find you a deal. I can find anybody a deal. You probably wouldn't want to live in it, but I can find you a deal.
Right.
Right? What you hired me to do is find you a good home at good market value that, number one, serves your family the way you want. Is it going to be 5 to 7 year turnover home? Is it going to be a long-term home? Okay? So 2 best friends in the last couple of weeks. One I put is now in a townhouse because it's a 5 to 7 year. Her friend I put in Lawrencetown as split entry because she doesn't want to move for 20 years. So again, it all comes down to the buyer's consultation. How much time are you spending with your buyers before you're showing them how? And that's key. So most buyers with me, tops, we look at 8 houses. And most often in the first 5 houses. So that's key. Set the expectations, do your buyer's contract. And that's actually leading into the next tough question is who wants to sign a buyer's contract? Right? So I found that very difficult too when I first got in. Again, set the expectations for your buyer. So you're going to talk about the contract. So you explain to them what it's there for, which is exactly what Kenya and I had to chat this morning. Okay? In Nova Scotia, we have what's called a buyer's contract. This is a contract that protects you, not me. Doesn't mean you have to buy a house. It puts you in a legal agency relationship that you can hold me accountable under the law. I'm going to give you advice on buying the biggest asset of your life. You want to be able to hold me accountable for that. Of course you do, right? So these contracts were written out because prior to about 12 to 15 years ago, I think it was about 15 years ago, they came out, buyers were just out there voting. The only one in an agency relationship was the seller. So I was telling Tammy a story this morning, our first house that we sold in Holy Village. And, you know, we said to the guys, well, we can pay any less than 99,000 for it. Guess what we got? 99,000. Because he was the selling agent, he was the buying agent. First 3 houses we did, right? Stanford, we both sides of it. We didn't know the difference, right? So that is there to protect you. So when you read them to working with the realtor, what I'll say to them is, I talk to them about that, and then I show them the contract. And I, again, tell them that it's there to protect them. If you don't want to sign it right here tonight, that's not a problem. You take them for a little test drive and look at a couple houses, but you've got to remember, during the time that we're looking at these houses, I'm not going to give you legal advice because I can't. This is something that the real estate commission takes very, very seriously. It's not so that Brenda Kay sells another house. That's not what it's for. You don't have to buy a house under this contract. I show them when I go through the contract, I explain clause 8.2. And I say, I'm going to read you this line. Now we're going to jump to point 8.3. And I never leave that contract with buyer. Never. Because they don't know how to interpret what they're reading, especially clause 8.2.
And stop at that and say, well,
Buy that.
yes, you can resist. Yes.
Right. So I tell them that clause is in there because there are buyers out there that they are real estate investors and they call agents and they say, go get me that house. Well, of course they're paying me. I'm working for them. But for you, I'm not. And then on, I think it's the third or fourth page, I can't remember, it has the reimbursement should you withdraw from the market. I withdraw that out. I always set that out and say, things in life change, you know. If I spend 6 months with you and your sister-in-law did your license, are you going to let me go? Yeah, no. But things in life change. So if you decide not to buy a house or the timing's not right or, you know, you're feeling stressed or whatever, this contract is not putting you in a position that you have to buy. This contract is putting you in a position of protection. And we all want to be protected. Good? So, those are I know it's not a very long session today, but those are really the 4 big tough questions that I've come up against. Chris, do you come up against any that I missed?
I'm here. No, actually, those are probably the toughest, the buyer's agency contract for sure, and I've gotten very comfortable with it. I've never had any problems with people not signing it. It's all in how you sit down and just explain it to them and just build that relationship a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
So that definitely, and the other one that you brought up in terms of when you're sitting with a client and trying to negotiate price, because I also always ask, I want to know what they're thinking before I give them my price, because then I know how I have to defend my price once I know. If I'm far off from their expectations, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know. Sometimes I do it a little bit different where I actually show them the CMA but don't give them my price. I go through it and then I say to them, now after looking at this is going to give you a good idea. Now you tell me what your house is worth. So, I just do it a little different, but it's exactly the same result as what you're doing. And I find usually by the time they look at it, they realize they may be way off base or they may be close.
I do a 2-visit listing presentation. I don't know if you do, Chris, but
yeah, it depends. I usually try and do a 1.
yeah.
It depends on the client. Sometimes I do a 2, sometimes I do a 1.
Yeah. I would say 98% of the time I do a 2.
Okay.
Because I want to know before I leave where their emotional factors.
Yeah.
there's times like this one this morning, that's what I actually said to him. I don't know if I can get you there, but your house is outstanding, and I'm gonna do my best. Let me come back and see how high I can get you. And I wasn't really pleased, because it's in, it's off Stouffville Drive, Chris. So,
Mhm.
in my head, I was like, everything out there is 235, 240. So I was worried.
Right.
So, and then I go back with now, I did a listing presentation down in Cal Bay where two other agents came in, they gave their price right there at their first visit, and they came in at the 350 mark. I came back the second time, because my question to, how can I price it without knowing exactly all the features and unique finishes and everything that you've done in your house compared to the other people? So those two agents commit 350, I commit 309.
Oh, wow, big difference.
Because the other two agents, there was so much they didn't take into account, and I just tore their CMAs right there. Like they showed.
Mhm.
And not saying you do it wrong, Chris, I'd love to be able, there's times I know I can sign it up in one, I sign it up in one.
Yeah.
99% of the time, because I want to know exactly what they're thinking before I even look at the numbers.
Usually past clients, I'll do it in one step.
Me too, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone I don't know, I agree with you. You really need to build that relationship a little bit better, and you do need to know what features they have or don't have. Yeah, I mean, I went to look at a property yesterday, and I did a bit of a CMA prior to going in, and it's past client actually, a rental house, and I would have been way higher than, yeah. So I just told him that I'm going home to do my homework and I'll come back. I never let on that I'd already done a CMA, because I realized very quickly that I would have really outpriced myself too high. Yeah.
I do a quickie of the neighborhood before I go, so that if they ask me about the blue house around the corner, I know what you're talking about. But that's all. I just do a real quick, you know. Or sometimes they'll say to me, well, that one down the road just sold for, like, even when I'm at the presentation, Chris, you know, the pricing one, they'll say, that's green one, this happened to me the other day. Well, that one there down the street, the green one, that sold for like 261,000. I thought, geez, I didn't see that. Well, I didn't see it because it was in 2009. God.
Okay. Yeah.
And his, no.
Yesterday.
Right, so I think, is there any tough questions that you guys come across that you'd like to throw at me?
What is, like, what, I mean, it's not really a question, like, you know, when you put a house on the market, you get an offer, you know, within a week, like, when the seller says, sure, it's higher.
No, okay. So when someone says to me, if I get an offer within days, and they say, well, my God, we got a full price offer, I should have priced it higher. Well, why? I did my job perfect, right? Perfect. I was bang on. Do you know how many times I'm not bang on very often? I'm really proud of myself today. You're bang on. I got you 100% of market value of your house. That shows you well priced, right? So when people say to me, or they say, well, don't you think we should be here? And I'll say, well, you know, the worst thing that'll happen is you're going to get competing offers. You're going to end up there anyway. But that's highly unlikely in this market. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is, like Chris said, when you're working with sellers too, and you have to set their expectations so that they know realistically. And same with buyers. Okay, when you're working with buyers, do you all, I know you do a buyer's consult, as you have mine now. Do the rest of you, and I know you do, Chris, too. Yeah. That you're,
Really good one on the seller.
there's some really good ones, yeah. And that's when you really talk about that contract. So I think the slide comes up where I say 100% of my clients choose buyer agency. And then we talk about why. You know, if they don't quite understand it, the analogy that I'll use is, and this is actually a true story, there was an agent that did sell one time to somebody on their own listing. They overpaid by $40,000. No, sorry, it wasn't their own listing. Overpaid by $40,000 than anybody else in the street. and they took that agent to court. That was years and years ago. But they did take the agent to court. Because if the agent had done the homework properly, they shouldn't have paid $40,000 more than everybody else on the street. Newer agent, didn't know his numbers. So it is true. You can be held, you are going into an agency relationship, and you can be held accountable under the law. And you can let them know, the real estate commission takes that really seriously, and they will hold you accountable. That's you, not me. I think that was all for my tough questions. I think the only other tough things, they're not really questions, but tough things to say, and Chris, I know you've come across this, you're listing a house that's dirty, or it stinks.
Yes. How do you tell them?
Tell people, I say to them, oh my God, we all live in our houses, and I go off that old commercial, but what I used to say is, we get so used to living in our house, we never go through with our buyer's cap on. It's our own house, so things build up and we don't even notice them. I'm like that in my house. Aren't you like that? Throw the brush back in them. And I'll say, so if I had to put my buyer's eyes on, let's talk about a few things. One of the biggest things, teenage boys stink. Teenage boys stink. There's no question. And when I walk into a house, I can smell if there's a teenage boy in that house. So, and that's exactly what I'll say to people, is sometimes we're not cognizant of our own, and then I'll say, when my boys were in hockey, when my boys were between 13 and 21, man, did they smell. I didn't notice it. I'm sure anybody walking in my house noticed it. You're nose blind, I'm nose blind, or you don't notice a thing. So why don't we go through the house, you go through the house, put your buyer's eyes on, do the little sniff test, and the best thing to do, a couple bowls of pure vanilla or baking soda, just to take out the regular odors. Every house has their own aroma. I use the word aroma. Yeah. A big thing. Honest to God, I used to walk in my son's bedroom. You like that, Chris? I walk in the next bedroom, I'd be like, holy God.
Oh yeah. I just do it a little different in the sense that part of my marketing is I offer staging, free staging.
Yes.
And so
Let me say.
my stager is the bad cop.
Yeah.
And I'm the good cop. I don't have to deliver the bad news. The stager does. So it's a little bit at arm's length for me, and I find that's worked really well. Yeah.
Saving on my makeup. But I mean, you guys are at the point you get listings. You're not going to pay a agent to come in and do all the things you have to. So, is there any other questions? I hope did you guys get something out of it today? I hope. Okay.
And thank you too,
Chris,
Oh,
anything else?
thank you, Brenda. That was awesome.
And anything else you'd like to add, Chris, or advice you can give us?
I don't know. I thought you did really well. You did awesome. I mean, I even took a few notes from what you said, because we can always learn every day, right?
Absolutely.
You just pick up one thing. And I love the way, what I got away from today, which was really valuable, is when you sit down with your CMA and talk about how you're not pricing it, it's the statistics. And that I love, because sometimes it's really hard. They always think that you're the one, and you really aren't. The numbers speak for themselves, and I love the way you put the onus on the numbers. It's not you, it's the numbers. Yeah, and I love that. So thank you for sharing that. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something I was just going to say when you said that. Same when you're bringing low ball offers to sellers. Set the expectations of what kind of market you're in, and just say, now, I want you to remember, this is not personal. This is a business negotiation, and were you in their shoes, I'd be fighting for you for the lowest price. So let's take the personal feelings out, put them aside, and let's talk about this offer and see if we can pull it together. That's because sellers get really upset, or their feelings get hurt, or it's not personal. It's just a business negotiation over a commodity. Your house is now a commodity, you chose to put it in the market. And that's another expectation I set too, Chris, is This is not your home, this is a market commodity that we're going to there and bring people in to pay based on value.
But sometimes, what I find sometimes really tough is when you have a great property and you know you've priced it well, and then you get this lowball offer and the seller is just ready to hit the ceiling. And even though you try to discuss taking their emotion out of it and whatever, they're almost at the point where they don't want to deal because the offer is so low. And I think when you take the listing, you have to sort of set that expectation with them that, you know, we may see low offers. People try all the time. And if they already know that this might happen, hopefully when it does happen, they remember back to that conversation because you've already discussed that with them. Because it can be a toughie, and I don't know, people do try low, but I always feel if someone takes the time to sit and write an offer, they at least deserve a counteroffer.
Yeah.
Not a refusal, because you never know. Right? You never know, and I find you need to work it until there's nothing left to work, I guess. So, but yeah, you can get an irate seller that just refuses to even. So, if I don't know if you've had, oh, I'm sure you've had it. So what do you do in that instance? You've already told them to let their emotions go. It's simply business. And if they don't budge, what do? You just
again, okay, and then I'll say to them that, you know, this is a business negotiation, and right now, if you were a buyer in this market, I'd be doing this for you. So just remember that, we're deep into a buyer's market, okay? I always ask the other agent, I'll say, look, do me a favor, like, do you have a tire kicker or do you have a serious buyer, right?
Yeah.
That we want to communicate with that other agent. So that's what I had a couple of weeks ago. And he did say, he said, you know, Brenda, he wants to buy this, he's looking for a deal. And we did send a counter, and they moved on. But we did our part, we said. So people will say to me, if I don't, and this was actually just said to me last week, it's an estate sale, and it's so pleasant working with Bruce Sidley. And the sister pipes up and said, well, we're not taking any less for this house than this. And I said, well, you've got two choices. You can sell it for a price the buyers are willing to pay, or you can keep it. The choice is yours at the end of the day. Which would you like to do? You can keep an empty house and you can pay insurance on it, and you can pay the cost to upkeep it, or you can accept what a buyer is willing to pay in this market. And that means good market value. And people say, sellers say that all the time to me. Well, if I don't get this, I'm not selling. You know, that is, if you're prepared to stay, because you already know their motivation, you know, are you prepared to stay in this house until the market catches up to what you feel your house is worth, if it ever does? Or do you want to accept the value of your house and move on? Because sometimes it gets down to quality of life. Those are the kind of serious conversations that you got to have with them. But I said Chris, I set the expectation again. If I'm coming over with a low ball, I'll.
Yeah.
I remember one was really good with Carol Smith. Now, Carl, that conversation, don't you get all up and fluffy with me.
Okay.
Because it was a ridiculous, but you know what? We got it together, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But we started at $30,000 per, and we got it together.
I dealt with that not long ago. I told my clients, I was coming over with a notice of interest. I said, what the hell is that? And I said, well, that's a low ball offer, but what we're going to do is we're going to come back where we want to be. We know they're interested.
Yeah.
And they were fine with it. So
Yeah. Did you hear that, Chris?
I did. Yeah. But I do love your line of, are you willing, do you want to wait until the market catches up to your price?
It may never.
Or would you like to move on right now? I love that, waiting for the market to catch up, because that could take 6 months, that could take a year.
It could never.
Okay, exactly. So that's a great line to use. Yeah.
The thing
Great
with
line.
you've underpriced it. And again, what happened on the sibling's house is the price I put on, right before the signing, the sister pipes up and says, I think you're selling it too cheap. And I said, no, in 48 hours, because you'll be in a multiple offer situation if I did, and you're gonna get over asking. Then we're gonna celebrate. Well, guess what? It wasn't overpriced. I knew that. And we in the first offer we got was a low wall, they did walk, and the second offer we got was decent and we could work it. But
And often the first offer is the best offer. That's one thing I've noticed. You know, people have kicked themselves many times for not having taken that first offer that they weren't excited about.
yeah. I always tell them it's not only your best, often it's your only one.
That's true too. It is, certainly is at the moment, yeah.
I had one, if you use, I find too with clients, if you use analogies of experiences you've had, I had one in Kobe that was 549, came in at 508, and we said, guys, the market's pretty bad, you know, you're older Kobe, you should probably take this. And no, he wanted to go back, like 530 something, I can't remember what it was, I don't tell clients that, but at the end of the day, 10 and a half months later, we sold the house for $435,000.
Yeah, crazy, but
So your first offer's usually your best, if not your only.
yeah.
And the choice is always up to the seller. There you go. Is that any other questions or no?
What if you see a that you have to expire and you know it's over, right? Like, because you were properly or not.
Yeah, I can give you my numbers up.
And then, like what I'm saying is, do you take clients that to properties that are over their budget, but you know they're underpriced or overpriced? Or you don't?
No, because if a property is overpriced that severely, there's one of two reasons. Either the homeowner feels it's worth that, or the seller's worth that, or the agent believes it's worth that. So, okay, so I have one right now on 18 Amethyst, and it should have been listed at $379.9 day one. So they hire an inexperienced agent and puts it on for $420 a year ago. Crazy. That agent lasts 6 months. They hire another agent, puts it on for $399, and they stay with her for 6 months. So then I walk in. They should have never, like I said, they should have never been open $379.9. And they said, well, they didn't even make an offer. So I said, when you were priced at $420, if I had come to you with an offer of $369, which would have been a 99% offer of the true market value of the house, would you have taken it? God, no. Exactly. Because at that time, they believed their house was worth $420. Right? So why would I take a buyer then? You know, I never take a buyer outside their budget. Now, if I talk to the agent, you know, if I call them and say, hey, you know, it's really high compared to the rest of the neighborhood, and I've had agents say, if you want, it's worth it, because there's this, isn't it? I don't get input. I don't go there, right? But if it's a difference of like maybe, say, $5,000 or $7,000, and the numbers show that, you know, every house in the neighborhood's been $350, and this one, the sellers want to take less than $355, is that overpaying for your house? Not. At the end of the day, the value is what you're willing to pay and what you're willing to pay. To you, the value of this house is $355. You know, maybe what's the reason you're going there? Like I said, maybe you're staying there for 20 years. You know, you're gonna flip it in 5 to 7 years? No, you gotta be really strategic in what you pay. Are you looking for a home? Are you looking for a deal? So there's all kinds of different questions asked. But no, that given, it shows every time either the agent or the seller believes their house is worth the price they're asking. So and I tell my sellers that too, Chris. As a busy buyer's agent in the city, I won't even show your house. I'm not going to come in and show it, and then because I know you're overpriced by $15,000, I'm going to know it's not. And they realize, and that happened in the conversation last week with this one, exactly today. Well, they'll just come in and roll. what will you do? You won't take it. So why would I submit a mobile? I just go right around your house, take the buyer to the next one, and it's properly right. So. Anything else? Okay. Chris, thank you.
Thank you. It was awesome. Appreciate it, Brenda. Thank you for your time.
Okay, talk to you later.
Take care. Bye.
I haven't had to end this.
We're back. It's on 40 down.